going on, y'all? It's Jay Strada here. You all are tapped in to Real Talk with Jay Strada, and today we're gonna get straight to the video. The first thing I want to do is kind of give a breakdown as to how we got to this video, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what are the repercussions of the video, what are some of the things that we can learn from the video, and how it affects us moving forward. So, for those that don't know, here in the news lately, there was a woman that was actually hit by a man with a brick. Right now, based on her story, the man asked her for a phone number, for her phone number. She refused. The man picked up a brick and then he hit her with her. He hit her with it. Now the problem with the video, according to the woman, is that there were men around that watched this happen and they did nothing. Right. So, in this short clip I do have, this is a video of her explaining in her own words what happened. So we're gonna get in this video real quick, and I'm gonna give my opinions, and we're gonna wrap it up. Also, the link is also dropped into the comment section, so make sure you all, if you want to join, give your 2 cents. Be sure to do that. Like I said, I'll be bringing up hosts and other guests and just people that want to join into the screen, get their opinion. Again, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. This is Real Talk with Jay Strada, and we're going to get straight to the video. Then afterwards, we'll share our thoughts.
What have I ever done to anybody in my life to deserve this? I never did anything in my life to hurt anybody. Literally, a man asked me for my number. I said no, and he picked up a brick in front of so many men and was like, "What you gonna do?" And I told all these men, like, "Yo, why this man got a brick on my face?" And he's holding a brick, and all these niggas is watching, and nobody does nothing. And he hits me in my face, and then they're all just watching, and they let that nigga get in a car. How is this okay? This is what y'all doing to women?
Okay. Now, first I'm going to do is get my thoughts on the video. And the first thing that struck me, was damn, like we are now living in a time to where men are picking up bricks and hitting women, right? So let's deal with that part first. Fellas, I really don't care what that woman did. Now let's take her at face value at first. Let's say that what she did say is indeed true, and a guy asked her for a number, she refused, and he hit her with a brick. Fellas, this ain't cool. Right? Let's start there. So before I go on with any of my opinions about what actually happened or what I believe to happen, we got to start with setting the foundations, which is it is not cool for any man to inflict violence on a woman because he's been rejected, right? So that's the foundation of this conversation. Now let's dig a little deeper. There's another video that's probably floating around that you all have probably seen, and it's actually moments after she said she was hit with the brick. Now, what's interesting about that video is that there are a group of men that were around that were watching. And so in that video, she proclaimed that, y'all watch this dude hit me with a brick. Y'all ain't do nothing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And so, her thing was to chastise the men that watched and possibly recorded. Ladies, there's a few things that we got to get to here, right? Thing number one, where do I want to start? So the first thing that I want to start with is let's walk down the minds of the men watching. Now, again, we're going to first walk this down under the assumption that what she said was indeed correct, that a man hit her with a brick and no one did anything. Let's go with that premise first. Women, we are living in a time to where the thought processes of current men is simple. You all have proclaimed independence. I'm not saying all of you have, but some of you have, right? And so in y'all minds, there's a lot of things you can do by yourself. You don't need a man for this. You don't need a man for that. So what normally ends up happening is when you find yourself in situations and jams, the same men that are like-minded and are kind of reserved, they're in a space to where they're a little bit slower to not only approach you to talk to you, they're also slower when it comes to coming to your aid, right? And so the perspective is that if you all don't need us for anything, then in return, you can't chastise us for what we do or don't do when you find yourself in a situation where you need one of us, right? And so I think based on some other videos I've actually seen speaking about this matter, one of the things that did come through is one of the guys that was actually there. He spoke to how the lady was antagonizing the guy. They had like a exchange back and forth, and she kind of dared him. Like bro picked up the brick, and she was like, "Yo, I dare you to hit me with it." You know what I mean? She kind of dared him to do it. So in bro mind, he like, well, I mean, shit, you kind of get what you asked for. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I think that this speaks to the larger issue that's going on here. What we're finding is that with a lot of modern women, because the respect for men have gotten to an all-time low, that something as simple as a polite rejection can raise to the level of disrespect. And this is something that women got to understand. You walk a fine line when not only rejecting a man, but then to take it a step further and disrespect it if what the witness said was true, right? So now we're gonna walk down a hypothetical. Let's say she was a little rude with the dude. Still, the fact still remains. You should not be hitting women with bricks, bro. As a grown man, at my healthy age, there would have to be a lot going on for me to throw a brick or hit anyone with the brick in any situation. Let's start there. A dude would almost have to be beating me, completely senseless for me to actually stumble upon a brick to then think to use it. So the idea that you have a man that his first response, to regardless as to what that woman said, was to grab a brick is kinda insane. And I want to be very clear when speaking on this matter that no time during my opinion am I ever going to justify a dude taking a brick to a woman to do anything. That's goofy. He probably has emotional issues. Ain't no probably in it. Bro got some stuff he got to get straight. Now, let's deal with the bystanders and her charge against the men watching that they did nothing. Women, here is the psychology of an average man. As men, we have accepted that in this world, there are crazy motherfuckers that exist, right? As men, we walk around knowing this. This ain't something that we think about. This is not something that we guess about, and this ain't dealing with the uh, possible. Excuse me. This ain't dealing with the possibility that these men will get better. We deal only in probability. The probability is that for every good man, there are ain't shit niggas that show up, and so as men, we move around accordingly. Meaning, when we're out in public, we make sure that we're armed to the T. We're making sure that we're ready for whatever. Now, because we move this way, our goal was never to change or fix the men that are beyond reproach or repair. So, with that being said, we move around these dudes accordingly. We don't make excuses for them. We don't try to fix them. Our thing is, be cautious when around men that seem to be a little unhinged, right? And I think the bigger issue is for all the men that are standing around that the woman said did nothing. She has to understand these dudes have people they're obligated to protect and provide for. If these guys are in relationships, if they're married, if they have little sisters, cousins, nieces, the whole bit, like we together. Okay, there we go. We're back. So, like I was saying, one of the things that women have to take in consideration when thinking about the situation is that as men, we are obligated to protect those that are under our covering. So, with that being said, we put ourselves in a situation where we have to be mindful of what we do, who we take up for, and what that means and the repercussions of this. So, with that being said, we have to be super mindful of jumping into things that don't necessarily relate to us. And so, when she's charging these men to do whatever, right, there's a bigger obligation here for these men. You know what I mean? Partially being, hold on.
All right, now we
back.
back. Yo, check. All right, now we back. So one of the things that she has to keep in mind is that, as guys, we are responsible for those that are underneath our covering. That includes our sisters, our cousins, our girlfriends, our wives. So anytime we decide to put ourselves in these situations to protect you, there's a possibility we might not make it out. Right. And with that possibility, that's something that we got to live with, good, bad, or indifferent. So let's say a guy did jump in, hypothetically speaking. A guy jumps in, he lets her know, or he lets the guy know, put the brick down. Let's say he hit bro with the brick. Now we fight and we scrap and we getting it in. Let's say bro strapped up. Now, there's a couple of assumptions we can't make. If a dude is bold enough to hit a girl with a brick, I'm almost positive this same dude might be holding. That's a strong possibility, right? And so, with that being said, these are all things that we do consider when we're trying to protect people when we out in public. The first thing is we have to protect ourselves, right? And a lot of that looks like just being situationally aware of what's going on. So, as a man, when you see something popping off, the first thing we're doing is we're assessing. What we're assessing is what's the level of threat, what's the level of danger, how can we intercede if there's a chance to, and how can we do so with also being safe? So with that being said, what I will give her credit for is I do think that if you're a dude and you watching this, right, the first thing you'll probably think is, okay, maybe I can say something to bro. So maybe you might not be bold enough to be like, okay, let me actually intervene and stop, bro. Right. So I think that's a fair assumption. Not everybody's gonna be that bold. So I do get the premise that, you might not want to step in immediately and physically get involved. But as a dude, you could have easily be like, yo, hey, bro, kind of chill with that. You ain't gotta throw a brick at you wilding. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's people like you are hot. Just kind of remind the bro where he at, right? So I think that'd have been a good way to intervene without necessarily getting physically involved. But it goes back to the original point. If men are under the impression that women are out in the world and they don't need protection, then you'll see more and more of these situations happen over and over. Men are kind of in a place to where the protection that we could offer comes at such a high cost with no reward at all and so many consequences that it causes them to pause. And I think rightfully so. Like, I'm going to keep it tall. That situation was a little extreme, right? And so in that situation, if I was in that situation, I probably would have said something to bra. I don't know if I would have approached him and, you know what I'm saying, like got in the mix with it, especially if I saw her being rude, right? So if we go with the spectator's perspective, which is she was popping shit, she kind of riled bro, oh, he grabbed the brick. Even when he grabbed the brick, I'd be like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, what you doing? And just kind of walking up to him man to man, like, yo, bro, like, this ain't gonna go right. This not gonna go well. I don't know what you think finna happen, but this ain't gonna go the way you think, right? So that would have been my thought process at first. And maybe just try to alleviate it that way. But let's dig a little deeper into how the hell do we even get here to where men are hitting women with bricks. And I think that that's the crux of a lot of this conversation that should be addressed. So the first thing that comes to mind is we've already kind of touched on the women. Let's kind of delve into the type of man that would do that. Again, as men, we have all come to the understanding that not every man is or will be a gentleman, right? And as men, we know that. That ain't something that we guess at. That's not something that we try to understand. It's not something that we do anything with. Like that's just kind of like a given thing. Like that's general knowledge. And so what women fail to understand is that as dudes, if you're gonna be out here amongst us, this is the norm for us. As a man that's just trying to get by in the world, we know that there are motherfuckers that step on shit. There are people that are out here that don't mean you no harm. As men, we don't even try to negate that. We don't try to judge whether it's right or wrong. We move accordingly. We protect ourselves. And so when you have a new age of women that at every turn will remind a man of how much she don't need him, this is how you get this indifference you're talking about. To where the same man you don't need, he ain't coming to help you, bro. For what? You got it, right? Let's talk more about this type of man. I'm not gonna make any assumptions about how he grew up, but if I was a guessing or a betting man, I would bet that man might have grew up in a single family household, possibly. Why do I say that? I don't think that anyone in that man's life showed him or taught him about the idea of rejection, meaning you can shoot your shot at a woman and there's a strong possibility she might not be with it. And as a man, you got to just eat that, right? You might can ask her for tips or ways that you can do better, but at the end of the day, that's really all you can do, right? Eat the rejection, be polite, move the hell on. But if this man ain't never had anybody teach this to him that yo, not every woman gonna be into you, and that's okay, that's cool. Move around. If he ain't never heard that in his life, then the idea that this woman rejecting him would get him that angry doesn't surprise me. What also wouldn't surprise me is that this ain't his first time putting his hand on those women. So this ain't a new thing to him. It's not like he woke up today, tried to get a number, and decided to pick up a brick and hit a chick. That ain't what happened. Like this is probably some reoccurring thing if you dig deep enough in a bro's past. So what does that mean for women? All right, women. There's two things that you have to accept in this situation. Number one, if you're going to accept the fact that men aren't going to help you, then that means you have to conduct yourself accordingly. If women are going to accept the premise that men are not going to help you, then that means you must then move accordingly. What do I mean by that? Women, if you're out at night and you're roaming around, you in the club, you doing whatever you're doing, if in your mind you know that no man in the surrounding area will help me or will do anything to help me, that means you have to move with the same precaution as men. Remember earlier when I was talking about as men, we protect ourselves at all time. We are situationally aware. The first thing a man do when he walks into a room, and again, this is for the women that want to lean on and believe that men are not going to help you. Well, now you need to start thinking like us. The way a man thinks when he enters any room, the first thing he does is he checks exits. If something was to jump off, what's the fastest way for me to get out of here? Right? If it was to go left right now, whenever a man walks into a room, the first thing he does is he checks exits. The second thing a man does is he never turns his back to the door. Right? If a threat was to come through the entrance of any building and your back is to the door, then that means that you are completely vulnerable to what can happen behind you. And women, I'm only telling you this thing off the assumption that you don't think men will protect you. So if you are out in the world and you do not think men will protect you, as a woman, you now have to start thinking and doing the things that we do as men to protect you. Another thing that men do, there's an understanding amongst most men that once the sun goes down and it starts getting later in the evening, I'm not talking about like your 7, 8 o'clock twilight. I'm talking about the 12s, the 1s, the 2s, when the clubs start closing down. There's only a few things open. Legs, hospitals, and jail. This is what real men understand. We know this. So when we out, the first thing we want to do is if we want to go out mob with the crew, then it's a bunch of us out. Even if you go solo, you always texting somebody so that somebody knows and they can get a location on you. They know if something were to go left. The last time I heard from STRADDA was whoop 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 time. He told me it was gonna be whoop whoop place. We try to tap in with at least 2 or 3 people to make sure our location is known. And I'm only telling women this advice under the premise that you're gonna move as if you don't need protection from a man. Let's start there with that type of woman. So all of these things you have to keep in your mind because believe it or not, ladies, when you're with your man, these are the things that goes through his mind at all times. When y'all are out on the date and y'all are having a good time, he's scanning exits. He's scanning anybody that comes into the room. The first thing most men do is size up the room. Who in this room will be a threat? Where would it come from? We're looking at you. We're looking at the guy's waistline. We're looking at the way he's dressed. Could he pass it? Could he possibly have a weapon? Now, granted, most guys don't leave the house without it on them. This is just a fact. I'm properly armed at all times and I go out to protect myself. It's never to actively look for nothing, right? So, women, this is where the conundrum starts to happen. And let me tell you what I mean by the conundrum. I've heard a couple of things on YouTube where there are people on YouTube that are encouraging women to arm themselves. Well, the only pushback I have on that is if you're in a situation to where as a woman you have to pull a firearm and you're doing so against a man, you have to actually be strong enough to overpower or step back and give yourself enough distance to aim and hit your target. But now with self-defense laws, the only issue with that is you have to be able to prove that you are in imminent danger and that the person in front of you is an imminent threat and you have a complete fear for your life, which is a lot to prove. So there's a lot of cases that have happened recently to where women have in fact defended themselves from men that they deemed to be aggressive. And then when they got to court, one of the things they realized is that they actually became interrogated and they didn't like it because in their mind, they're like, I didn't do anything wrong. I was defending myself. Why does it seem like I'm on trial? Because when you do decide to discharge your firearm, even in defense, you have to prove your innocence. Court laws are not about righteousness. They're about legality, two different things. And again, I am still talking to the woman that decides that no man is going to help me. This is how I have to move. This is all based on that premise, right? If you're going to start moving as if no man is going to protect you, here are some of the things you have to consider when you're trying to move amongst the world with men, because these type of men do exist. As men, we recognize that, we assess the threat, we remove the women and the people we're responsible for, we make them aware of it, we try to move around them. Now, another thing, when men decide not to jump in these situations, women, the last thing you can do is degrade the man and call him pussy. You want to know why? There are assessments that have to happen. And most men that I know that actually get down and step on stuff, they're actually slower to do it than you would believe. The reason being is because we know what comes after the immediate action, right? So if I got to get physical with somebody, there's a couple of things that are going through my mind as this is playing out, especially if this is a situation where I'm intervening. It'd be different if somebody was fucking with me, right? I can kind of, you might want to chill, woo, woo. I can get it in. But if I'm intervening and if I'm the third party in a situation that's going wrong, the problem with that is I now have to justify why I intervened, and then I have to prove that I thought that the woman was indeed in imminent danger. This is hard to prove in court because this is based on what I am perceiving, right? So when men are trying to, or if a man is actually going through his mind, should I get in? When should I step in? These are some of the things that run through his mind. Now, as men, another thing we do is we're trying to also check the temperature of the threat. How high is this? How low is this? How much force is needed to stop the situation? First thing is always de-escalation. We want to try to use our words. That's what real guys do. I don't care about all this gangster shit y'all think y'all be seeing these music videos. Most dudes, if they can avoid a conflict by talking, they will. Because a lot of times, as men, we understand that a lot of things that happen to us, it's not necessarily the aggression that's a problem. It's normally 9 times out of 10 miscommunication. It's never uh, a true offense on either end. So the first thing most men, real men, seek to do is they want to seek understanding what's happening and what's going on. And so if there's a bystander watching, his first thought is trying to analyze how did we get here? What did he say? What did she say? Who's agitating the situation? Where can this go? What's a good time for me to jump in? And as a man, all this is going through your mind as you're watching something as insane as a dude picking up a brick, right? And again, like, it's no excuse for them to do nothing. But on the other hand, you have to understand that when you invite violence, you cannot be surprised when it show up. Now, if what she said was true, guy asked for a number, she said no, he picks up a brick. That's wild as fuck. Somebody should have stepped in and be like, yo, whoa, 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 chill. Like, that's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Now, if what the spectator said was true, that she antagonized this dude as a bystander, I'm not doing shit. I'm gonna tell you why. As hard as this is to accept, if you remove the woman from the situation and replace him with another man, that's exactly how I would handle it. If two dudes are about to get into an altercation and one guy's provoking the other one and he gets hit with a fucking brick, then in my mind, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And I know this hurts to hear. I know that's not the right thing to say. You should protect all women. I get that part. But as women, you all have to understand there are lines you can and cannot cross with men. Meaning, if you're gonna step up in a guy's face and you're gonna provoke him, you have to be ready for what comes next. And that could be anything, right? And another thing people don't understand that no one is obligated to respond to your disrespect the way you disrespected them. So in her mind, you know, and again, this is where this whole shit gets gray. Out of 10 men, I would say 8 to 9 of them, if she would have just simply said, no, I don't even want to give you my number. I'm cool. 8 out of 10 guys would probably walk the fuck away. Now, let me preface that. Out of those 8 to 9 guys that would walk away, some of them will probably call you something smart. Fuck you, ugly ass bitch. Now, granted, as a woman, this is where you have to understand that the insult that they respond with is deflection from the fact that you're rejecting them, right? So if you're gonna reject a man politely, even if he gets rude, that don't give you any type of a green light to get out your body. Because the moment you get out your body, you have to understand that you might run into the ninth or the 10th man that ain't gonna just bow out when you say I don't want to give you my number, right? So as a woman, I would never give the advice to a woman to meet disrespect with disrespect when dealing with a man, unless you are able to handle what comes next, right? So if that man picked up a brick and you were antagonizing him to do something with it, you can't be surprised when he does something with it. Because as a dude, if I'm in an altercation with a dude and we going back and forth, he like, bro, I'm gonna hit you in your shit. And I'm like, well, shit, do it. The moment I say that, I have to be ready for a punch, a gun, a knife, whatever it is, but I have to be ready before I even say those words. And I think that if women are going to move in the world as if men are not going to protect you, you have to be thinking the same thing. Now, let's move this conversation in a more positive direction. Let's say, okay, you have a woman that still has faith that men will do something and that want to remain in a feminine frame. This is how the same situation goes. You coming out of the club, a guy approaches you, asks for your number, you politely decline, right? He gets a little rude with you. You keep walking. At some point, you cannot engage and no one can argue by themselves. Now, a few things. Women are normally perceptive. So before the guy approaches, she's already made it up in her mind whether she wants to give you a number, whether she's not going to give you a number. So once they made that assessment and you realize I'm dealing with somebody that might be a problem, as a woman, what I would suggest a woman in that situation that would be looking for help to do is the more you act like a lady, the more men around you are willing to help. So the moment he rejects you, or you reject him, and then he comes back with a "fuck you, bitch," blah blah blah. You tell you getting a little aggressive. The next thing you can do is a few things. In that situation where it's a crowd of people, if you were a woman and you're feminine, I mean, you're acting like a lady. You politely declined his invitation. The next thing you need to do is find a group of men that were watching. You walk up to the man, and be like, "Hey, I know you don't know me, but this guy's making me a little uncomfortable. Do you mind walking me to my car?" Think about how much different this outcome would have been had, as opposed to her provoking this goofy, she went to the same men that were watching and asked for an escort to her car. At that point, no one has to fight. The guy might still talk shit, but even he'll have pause because depending on who she walks up to, now it's a situation where there's a man involved. So that energy might die down, maybe not. But at least as the woman in this situation, you are keeping yourself from getting hit with a fucking brick. Another way to handle the situation. I get it, and this is a thing that I think men have to understand because I've heard men say some wild things about this whole situation. There are men that will persistently not take no as an answer. And we have to acknowledge that. There are men that no matter what a woman says, he gonna keep coming up with reasons. I got a boyfriend. Well, I can be your friend. I'm married. So what they gotta do with me? So to women's point, there are very persistent men that seem to be a problem. If you can't find someone to escort you to your car, go back into the establishment in which you came and talk to the owner. Do not move, do not leave until someone can escort you to safety. Another thing that a woman can do that not only wants to help a man or just want to get out of situations like this, you need to travel in packs, man. Like all bullshit aside, as a woman, and it's gonna be fucked up to hear because this is not what's being preached on the internet nowadays. You shouldn't be out after 9:30 by yourself as a woman. This is the current world we're living in. I don't make the rules. I just observe what the fuck is going on. There is a statistical fact that crime increases after 9 o'clock in almost most major cities. Meaning, if you are a woman and you are out after 9, the chances of you being a victim of violence increases dramatically. I'm not telling you what you can and can't do. I'm not telling you where you can and can't go. But what I am saying is you have to be aware of what the hell is going on around you, where you at, and what that means for you and your safety. Now, some tips that I would give someone I was with or someone that I cared about. Women, here are a few tips to make sure that if you're not out on the town, that's a good way for you to, kind of be proactive about your safety. Number one, get gas, do all shopping prior to coming home. This stops you from having to go get gas late at night, and it stops you from getting gas early in the morning. Now, the reason why the second part is important is just like at 9 o'clock, crime increases. Crime also happens in the wee hours of the morning. So when most people are commuting, this is when, there are also criminals lurking. To keep you from having to stop at these lonely abandoned gas stations, get gas while the fucking sun is up. Do all of your shopping, all your dinner, get all of that either sent to your crib or get that done while the sun is up. Now, let's say, for the argument's sake, that you want to go out with your homegirls. Go in a pack. Go in a pack, leave as a pack. If you're not going to depend on men at all, then at least be vigilant with the women you're going out with. Because some of these women don't give a damn about y'all for real. And as scary as it might seem that, this one situation happened where a man picked up a brick and hit a girl in the face. Ladies, I'm telling you, 8 out of 10 men would gladly help you get out of situations like that. Because regardless as to what this lady's saying and what most people will allow you to think, most men aren't that fucking savage when it comes to women. They're just not. Do not allow this isolated situation to jade you ladies into thinking that this is what the fuck men are coming to. This ain't normal. And as a man, I have to acknowledge that there are men that can't take rejection. No pushback from me here at all. Totally agree. There are men that do not take rejection well. And you run the risk of being called, oh, ugly ass bitch, you stupid ass, dirty bitch, I ain't want your number no way. But most men, even the disrespectful ones, that's normally where they'll stop. They'll stop very short of doing anything physical to you. They'll just want to disrespect you. And 9 times out of 10, they're only talking that shit because they're embarrassed. You embarrass them. So in their mind, they want to embarrass you back. So the insult is not even an insult that they truly meant, because if you was really that ugly, they would have never approached you, right? So we kind of know where that is. But as a woman, you have to be able to accept the fact that that can happen next. When you tell a guy no, that's a possibility. Woman, here's also another real clever way to get out of these situations. And this is why I'm like, yo, this is just wild, right? And I think that this is why men and women, we're kind of leaps and bounds away from each other when it comes to thinking. Give him your number. Give it to him. You want to know why I say that? And don't even lie about your phone number. Because most guys, they are smarting and wising up to the fact that there are guys out here that when you give them your number, the next thing they'll do is call it. And they're going to do it in your face. They're not going to try to hide it. They're not going to act like it's a secret. No, they will call the number while you're sitting there. Give them your real number. You know what that does? It at least gets them out your face. Don't try to involve your man in no situation. Give them your number. Or again, if you don't feel comfortable, bro, I'm just not going to give you my number. But as you're saying that, start leaving. Now, this brings up the question of, well, should women walk around with the screw face on? You know what I'm saying? If I walk around like, I ain't being bothered, blah, 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 it's going to keep me in the way. It don't. Dudes will still approach you with that scowl on your face. They don't give a damn. And as a matter of fact, I'll go so far as to say as to how you reject a man will possibly give you a better outcome. And y'all got to understand that when I'm talking to y'all right now, I'm talking about the probability of an outcome versus the possibility. Because no one is a mind reader. We don't know the future. We don't know how people react. There are crazy people everywhere in the world. And I think it is unfair for any woman to ask any man to step out and take charge of what the fuck we already know that's true. Meaning, if I had a loved one that was a lady, I would never worry about her getting hit with a fucking brick, because they all know how to move. They know to leave locations. They know to tell me where they coming, where they going. If they're in a situation where they're close enough to where I can get to them, it's always, yo, I'm in the area. This goes for family, friends, women that I care about. Like, they have enough wherewithal to let me know where they are. Right? And ladies, y'all got to get under a covering. This is why this is so important. I'm not saying your man, your husband, your boyfriend, I'm not saying he could be with you 24/7. But what I am saying is, a lot of times, what also happens is women that have these coverings, when a man is asking you things, where are you going? Who are you going with? Who's going to be there? The first thing y'all do is assume the man is being insecure. When no, it's actually all safety related. I'm trying to figure out who the fuck's going to be there. How far are you from me? If I need to send word, if I need to send somebody, if I know somebody that's going, yo, keep an eye out on her. It ain't got nothing to do with your fidelity, because people gonna do what the fuck they want to do. But for so long, when men have actually tried to be proactive in covering women and showing them protection, y'all call it insecure. So then when you have a ladies' night out and you don't call this man insecure, if people are like, well, fuck it, go ahead out then, and something happened to you, then what? You didn't get no details because you didn't feel like being clocked. You thought you were grown, and then this shit happens. That lady didn't leave out with the premise of getting hit with a fucking brick. She didn't. I'm positive she did not wake up, get her makeup done, put on a dress, and be like, yeah, today is a day I'm going to get hit with a fucking brick. That was not the thought process. And this is the thing that men try to drill into all the women that we know is that, yo, where we're at, we understand that anything can go wrong. We don't bank on it being that way, but we move accordingly. And even when we're out and we see women that aren't covered by men, meaning they're out with other women that out by themselves, we even have to pause to get into it. Because this is another thing that women don't take into account when you're asking a man to jump in and protect you. Context matters. You know how many men have jumped in the middle of a man and a woman arguing just to find out that they are longtime boyfriend and girlfriend, and then they jump on your ass together because you intervened in some shit you had nothing to do with? You know how many times the middleman has been shot or deleted from trying to help? All of these things are the reason why men pause now. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it just is what it is. Shout out to Sub-Sahara. I totally agree. The motherfucker that threw the brick was a punk ass. And I started a lot saying that, and I'm not coming off that. The dude that did that shit is completely goofy. I mean that. There's no justification for it. I'm not even with everything we're talking about now, we're taking it past what actually happened because no one can defend that as being a reaction to anything she said and or did to him. For clarity, the only time I can possibly see a man throwing a brick at a woman is if an exchange happens, she pulls out a gun, he's unarmed, and he throws the brick to throw her aim off. I might can take that. But even in that situation, I'm not arguing with a woman in public long enough for no weapons to be drawn. So even that is a very extreme example that it should never get there. Right? But as a man, I have to be fair and look at this balance. We can't walk around and act like there aren't persistent men trying to talk to women, but the likelihood of them this raising to a level of a brick getting thrown is not as likely as the situation currently seems to be. And we have to be real about that. Most women can probably say when being approached by men, in a norm, let's call it a normal situation, that you might get called out of your name once or twice. Now, this is another thing that men have to be careful about. If we're telling women to stand their feminine and to reach out for help, as a man, you are now obligated to do so. Because guess what? If you are a father and you have a daughter and you want to encourage your daughter to always be vocal and to tell you when someone is bothering them or if they're doing something that's inappropriate, as that same man, you have to do everything in your power to aid a woman that is in her feminine frame and in need. That does not always mean going to knock the bad guy the hell out. It could be something as simple as walking her to a car, sitting with it for 20, 30 minutes, scanning the room like you were already doing to ensure that until she can get somewhere safe or we can get her somewhere where she's cool, that she gets out the door. And honestly, women, we are making this shit is a tornado in a teacup because it is truly that simple. If you are out, let's say the club setting, and again, I'm not here to judge what the fuck y'all do, so I'm not going to have a conversation about what you do in the club. None of my business. I ain't got no gavel. I ain't got no heaven or hell. You're in the club. Guy approaches you. You don't like it. You politely decline. You don't feel like giving your number. You're not with the shit. As a woman, the next thing you need to do is stop him as soon as he gets started again. Like, yo, let me get your number. No, I'm good. No, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm flattered, but no, thank you. And again, another thing, women, do not give reasons why. Because all the man gonna do is argue with you. He's gonna walk your reasoning down. So when a man asks for your number, you say no, no thank you. Can I get your number? No thank you. And stop. See, as a salesman, one of the things that you learn as a salesman is the first person that speaks after a proposition loses. So when a man asks for your number and you say hard no, he now is left to make a decision. He has some decisions to make. Does he walk away? Does he disrespect you? But by you saying no, what you do is you eliminate the idea of riling him up to the point of grabbing a fucking brick. Now, this doesn't justify the brick at all, but these are ways to be proactive as a woman dealing with guys that seem to not get the point. May I have your number? No. Give him a smile, real light smile. You don't have to be rude. No, thank you. No, no, thank you. And just keep repeating yourself. As you repeat yourself, make distance. Create distance between you and the guy. If he's still going on, this is when you make your move. You find someone that was listening. You look at the guy that asked you for the number. You say, "Excuse me for a second." You kind of put your hand up and stop him so he stops talking. Turn to the next guy. "Do you mind helping me real quick? I just need you to walk me my car." You ain't got to explain shit else. Most dudes, and again, this is what ladies don't seem to understand. Men love protecting women that need our help, that need our covering. We like to help women that are in their feminine frame. And I know it sounds fucked up, like, damn, I got to be feminine to get help from men. Yes, you do. That's how that works. Women, there's more power in your femininity than you'll ever get trying to be equal to or do the shit that men do. And this is the weird shit. Most women that want the same power as men, y'all don't even get how we operate. Because as a man, the last thing I do is provoke somebody that won't smoke with me. I don't have to provoke you. If you talking that shit, blah, fuck you, blah, blah, I'm not going back and forth with you. Because I'm trying to figure out the fastest way to put you down and get this over with. So when women say, you know, I want to match men energy, men don't do that. Real men, we not running around. I wish you would hit me. No. That's what goofies do. Level intentions. If it's up, it's up. You ain't got to say a damn thing to me. Once you talking, I'm trying to figure out the whole layout. If I were to hit him, how many people jumps on behind him? What do I have on me? What's the level of this threat? But all of this is going on in my mind. I'm not saying shit to you. I'm not provoking you. I'm not asking you a damn thing. I don't care because I'm finna get you up off me, right? And I think that that's the part that when women claim that they don't need a man and you're fighting to be so equal to men, that aggression don't work because when men get aggressive, we are prepared for what comes next. If I go out here and I buck up at another dude, man, fuck you, blah, 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 and it's up. As I'm saying these things, I'm getting in my fighter stance. I'm shifting my feet. I'm shifting my weight. I'm putting him within my power zone as I'm getting aggressive. This is what men do. So if as women, you want that energy and you think you can bang with a man and you want to carry it that way, these are the things you have to do. Again, talking to two different types of ladies on this stream. I'm talking to the ladies that don't need a man and those that want to cooperate. These are two different scenarios. So if you don't need a man, then you have to start thinking like one. If you're going to use that fuck you and you want to buck up at a dude, you better get in your fighting stance. Because there's a strong possibility these guys running around nowadays will hook your ass. They'll hit you like a dude. This is not an excuse for guys that do that. But as a real man, we know we don't live in a perfect world. We never tried to. We never tried to justify. We never tried to rationalize. We just know what is and what ain't, and we move accordingly. For the men that want to listen, we've already told them. Our friends don't act this way. The guys around us, we check this shit. These are the others that do dumb shit like don't take no from a woman. So the men that you claim aren't protecting you, These aren't our boys. This ain't our people. We don't fuck with shit like this. That's goofy. Girl tell you no, push it. Like, what are you doing, bro? Well, fuck you. Why? So you have to understand that as men, it is not our job to correct every goofy that exists. That's not what we're here to do. We let goofy shit be goofy over there. We keep it out of our ciphers. So to expect, if as a man we've decided to move around goofy, don't expect us to get involved in that shit when you decide you want to go back and forth with it. We don't operate that way. We let goofy shit stay over there. And like I said, if you're a woman that actually needs the help of men, leverage your femininity in those moments. This is the time where you have to find your sweetest voice, use your eye contact, touch the man if you have to, and just ask him to walk you away from the danger. And I guarantee you, 8 times out of 10, the man you grab will do so without questioning nothing. Matter of fact, as y'all walking, he's gonna be asking you shit like, you got anybody you want to call? You got, you know what I'm saying? Like, where's your car? Do you need me to like guys, when given the opportunity to be chivalrous, men will jump at it because it's so rare for a woman to need it. Sub-Sahara said, I read situations very quickly before it escalates. It's time to think. That's a fact. This is what both men and women that are in these situations have to do. You have to think 4 to 5 steps ahead of what the hell is currently going on in front of you. This is why the time to have these conversations is not when a brick is being in midair coming at your fucking face. As women, you have decisions to make. I'm not here to say what's right or wrong. I'm just saying, as a woman, you can do one or two things. You can lean into your femininity to get help, or you can take the other route and meet aggression with aggression, but be prepared for what happens next. Because not every man is chivalrous. Not every man is righteous. Not every man is moving the same. I don't hit women. I don't even like arguing with women because there's not there. As a man, I know there's nowhere for this to go positive for me. We can't fight. You know what I'm saying? So this is not the play for me as a man. I know that. I move accordingly. Shout out to Kel. Situational awareness. If you don't have it, you better get it. That part. Situational awareness. As men, we know this. And this is the thing that women don't understand. We don't run around this world trying to protect. We are not superheroes. Black men, white men, I don't care what type of men. We are not out in this world trying to right all the wrongs of the world. We accept the world as it is and we move around accordingly. We are always aware of exits, aggression, and we're always protected. We're going to protect ourselves and anybody that's in our immediate. That's what we do. And I'm not saying that if you're not in a man's immediate protection or covering, that he won't if you ask him. But again, either you're going to get in your feminine frame and in your most delicate voice possible, break the touch barrier, ask a man to escort you. Most men will do that. Or you can turn them up and see how that go for you. Wouldn't recommend it. I think that there's so many other things I can talk about, so many ways we can spend this. But as a woman, I think that if you are out of pocket, it is unfair for you to assume that a man that is watching will then protect you from yourself. Because at that point, you out your body. If you are aggressively in a man's face doing anything, you run the risk of violence happening to you. And it's unfair for you to gas it and then judge everyone around that watched it. Because let's keep it real. There are exceptions to most rules. And if as men, and this is the way a man's logic think, and this is to speak more to the spectators, this woman gotta have some shit, know some shit, or about to do some shit to be talking to this dude that's crazy. And because of that, as a man, we're gonna sit back and watch. Because now we're curious. What is giving her this confidence to speak this way? But when it's your foundation of that is some bullshit and you get exposed, this is why most men will just sound like you got it. But again, when guys are approaching you all and y'all are not interested, two things: give him your real number, walk away and block it, block him as soon as he leaves, or say no. Stop explaining yourself because all he's going to do is find a way to reject the explanation. Nah, don't give out number. I got a boyfriend. Well, can you have friends? No, I don't give out number. I'm married. So now you're stuck trying to give as many excuses as you can to get away from somebody that you don't want to give a number to anyway. Sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer. No. Yo, can I get your number? No. And see, this is the thing. Women always try to take things to extreme. So when you're rejecting an advance from a man, that doesn't mean it has to be done with disrespect. Because men press quote unquote women, that don't mean you got to walk around with the mean mug either. There's a balance in between all this shit. It's when you start operating on these extremes that you get these extreme results. But assuming that every man is walking around in this world can stay in his masculine frame is a bad assumption. Because there's some bitch niggas out here that will hit you with a brick. He goofy for that, by the way. That's goofy as hell. That's just goofy. Like, and I think that that's the part where real men that are listening to her say things like that, this is where we get confused because nobody is going to ever justify a man picking up a brick and throwing it at a fucking woman. That's goofy as hell, bro. But in the same token, in the same breath, if y'all are exchanging back and forth and it seems like you giving it just as good as you getting it, most dudes are like, yo, I'm not getting involved in that shit because our first thought ain't that she can whip his ass. Our first thought is she know him. If y'all are fuck you or fuck you too, blah, 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 blah. When dudes hear that, normally our first thing is they're a couple. I'm not getting in that shit. Because even if I were to help you, I kick his ass, I might find out later you right back with him. So what did I just solve by being a good Samaritan? All I did is put my life on the line and could possibly not left that situation fucking with y'all in a relationship that you're going to stay in. Like, there are so many scenarios where guys have rolled in the name of women and been wrong. And it's happened so often that this is why you have good, righteous guys that will pause in these situations. Not because we feel that the women don't need help, but there's so many other factors to consider. Ladies, when your man is being proactive about keeping up with your location, when he's being proactive about how he seats you in a booth, when he's proactive about where you walk, don't call that man insecure because there's woman out here getting hit with bricks. This is just the truth. I know that's an extreme example, but a lot of times when men are giving their women advice about anything in life and street shit, it's so easy to dismiss it because most women's retort to most things is, well, that didn't happen. Yeah, this time. But don't be in a situation where it would happen. And again, as men, we know, even men that are in relationships, or if you got a wife or whatever, or a family member, like, you know that when you're not with them, that they gonna get approached, and it can get very uncomfortable. But the best thing we can do is make them aware and make them understand that any errands, um, any things you have to do when you get off to work, try to do it before 9 o'clock because it is a statistical proven fact that this is when crime raises dramatically in any major city. So as women, if you are by yourself and it's not like a night out on town with the homegirls and it's just a regular night, have everything done before 9 o'clock. Make sure you're somewhere safe. Make sure you're checking in with people. When you do go out with your homegirls, make sure you're updating people that actually care about you, that can protect you on where you are. Again, this isn't insecure, but as men, we are proactive. But you can't judge us being proactive and then judge us when some shit jump off and they just kind of do this. Told you so. And again, I get it. We're not here to victim blame, and like I said, because I wasn't there, I don't know. I don't know which story actually happened. I wasn't there. So this is why I walked it down for both scenarios. Y'all make sure y'all, be smart out here. Um, be situationally aware of what's going on around you. And as a woman, again, your power will always rest in your femininity. When men see that, when they see you exuding that, there's not too much they won't do to help you or to even provide a covering if you are not their immediate priority, right? And that's really your best defense. So, if you want to live in a world where you don't want to deal with men, then that means you have to walk amongst men and you have to now think the way we do about these punk asses that throw bricks. We know they exist. That's the thing. Men like me, we don't deny that this goofy shit happens. We never have. It's time for y'all to do the same. If you're not gonna lean on us, you gotta start thinking like us. You gotta be quicker than that. Anyway, man, it's been Real Talk with Strada. Hope y'all enjoy, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe on the J.Strada page. Leave me some comments. Let me know what y'all think. I'll be reacting to some more videos coming up. But again, see y'all next time. Peace.